In the next 10 to 12 years, approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education will tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Look, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single country. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is that not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America. Systemic racism that has plagued our nation for far, far too long. I said that over the course of the past year that the blinders have been taken off the nation, the American people. But what many Americans didn't see or had simply refused to see couldn't be ignored any longer. Those 8 minutes and 46 seconds that took George Floyd's life opened the eyes of millions of Americans and millions of people around all over the world. It was the knee on the neck of justice, and it wouldn't be forgotten. And it's not white Americans' fault, but just a fact.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. If you believe in this number as I do and would like to join me in the fight for reparations, please email me at friendsofadostv@gmail.com. That's friendsofadostv@gmail.com.
Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good afternoon in the mountain. Good afternoon in the central. Good afternoon on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the reparationist perspective, bringing you those ADOCS hot topics and making the case for reparations. making the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. Welcome, Coach Daryl Marjorie on the Clubhouse. I want to thank you, Brian Johnson, for joining the live. Linda Jennings, thank you for joining the live. Who else we got up in here? Chrissy Bambusa, Justin Mathis, ADOS New Jersey in the building. And for those of you who have yet to chat where you're slinging bricks on behalf of ADOCS, the C is for Channel, I thank you one and all for joining the live. This is your midday wake-up call, family. Yes, lots of puckery going on, family. Lots of puckery. This is why God has birthed about 10 series through me. And this is my square. Because we are facing becoming fourth class in the country our ancestors built with their lives through heinous chattel slavery. And they're trying to make us eat the cost of it. The Democrats and the Republicans alike. Okay, so let's get into it because I got ADOCS life is happening. I got to take my daughter to track practice, but I thank you for joining the live. So what you see in front of you right now, since we got it up on the screen, let's just jump right into this COVID situation we got going on, this pandemic, as I call it, that has miraculously dissipated in the first quarter of the Biden administration. It's amazing. Things are opening up. Folks are running around down here maskless. It's a miracle. It came March 2020. It disappeared March 2021. Not according to the data. The records are saying it's still off the hook. But all of a sudden, we are ready to open up the country. And Krispy Kreme wants you to get your free vaccine, and they're going to give you a donut. Let me make it bigger over here, family. They're going to give you a donut a day. So let me get this straight. You don't have the COVID. You're in optimal health. And in exchange for taking a vaccine that you're the lab rat for, they're going to give you diabetes. Is that how this works? Let's read the promotion. Let's read it. Since it's on the screensaver. Now, this might get shut down. So if you don't catch it live, you know why. Now, I'm not telling y'all not to go and vax. This is for the people who are on the fence or, folks who say, hell no, we won't go. So Krispy Kreme is finding ways to be sweet as the U.S. continues to scale COVID-19 vaccinations to show our support for those of you who choose to get vaccinated starting Monday, March 22nd. Anyone who shows their COVID-19 vaccination record card will receive a free original glazed donut. Now, I'm trying. The limit. What is the limit for the COVID-19 vaccination offer? What's the limit, y'all? Each individual guest who requests the COVID-19 offer will be limited to one original glazed donut per day. No purchase is required, family. Oh my God. So you don't have COVID. You take the vaccine, you go show them your card. You can get you a daily dose of diabetes from Krispy Kreme. Getting in on the vaccine action. Okay? Now, I'm going to leave that to y'all if y'all think that that's a good exchange, if that's a fair exchange. Let's talk about, since we own COVID, how the CEO of Pfizer, there's a claim out here, the CEO of Pfizer refused the COVID-19 vaccine. The CEO, let me tell you what he said. And listen here. Okay, and I'm jumping around because I want to get to all of my show. I got an hour. The video features a CNBC interview with Bourla, who is the CEO of Pfizer, in which he is asked when he will get vaccinated. In response, he says that he is 59 years old, in good health, and is not working on the front line. So he, quote, is not recommended to get the vaccine right now. But as soon as I can, I will. The only sensitivity here, Meg, is that I don't want to have an example that I'm cutting the line. Bourla says in the video, which also includes a clip of Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Okay? In the second clip, Fauci tells CNN's Brianna Keilar that he would not take a coronavirus test after touching the same microphone as then President Donald Trump because he was not experiencing any symptoms and practiced social distancing. Following the video of Fauci is a clip of Dr. Oz attempting to persuade television personality Wendy Williams, who says she does not trust the coronavirus vaccination nor flu shots about the safety of the vaccine. The video was shared by the Facebook page True York, which has previously shared other videos discouraging people from getting vaccinated, according to factcheck.org. USA Today reached out to the Facebook page for comment. You guys, you're comfortable in Clubhouse. That's beautiful. But if you'd like to see me live, I'm on YouTube. USA, thank you for joining. USA Today reached out to the Facebook page for comment. Bourla has now received the Pfizer's vaccine. The interview in which Bourla says he has not gotten the vaccine took place with CNBC on December 14, 3 days after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration issued the first emergency use authorization for the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. Since the interview, Bourla has been vaccinated. Can anybody verify that? Did he go live like so many of the other folks who are saying that they took the COVID-19 vax? We don't know what they're taking. I've already done a special on coronavirus, Coronaganda, Coronagate. I did that video. Check the archives. And I shared with you about the swine flu epidemic and how they were giving the rich white folks in government a different vaccine than the one they gave the lay people. And I hope you know to this day, none of this is FDA approved. None of it. It is being means tested right now on the people. You just need to know that. You are the lab rat. And I showed y'all in that video with Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes, when the man admitted that the swine flu shots that they were giving to the layperson was never tested. And then you have folks getting injured by that vaccine who still haven't settled their lawsuits. Look it up. Mike Wallace, 60 Minutes, the swine flu. And see it for yourself. I'm not making this up. I shared it on that show. If it's still up in the archives, they shut me down when I talk about this, you see. You can't talk about being ADOCS. You can't put a gate up for your people. You can't fight for the reparations. You can't fight for COVID relief. You can't fight for social and economic justice because you're labeled a Black identity extremist when you do. You see. So I can't talk about things, even though I should be as entitled to my First Amendment rights as the race soldiers are throughout the police force. I've shared with you guys on other shows that a February 2016 FBI investigation of 10 years from 2006 told us that the KKK, the skinheads, and the neo-Nazis are infiltrated throughout all the police forces throughout the country. And they're able to get hired because to not hire them, the police says it's a violation of their First Amendment rights. But my First Amendment rights get shut down all the time. That's why you need to subscribe to me over on YouTube, because Facebook is constantly messing with my videos. Constantly. I'll be lucky if this one doesn't get bleeped out. But anywho, moving on. So it says here that since the interview, Bourla has been vaccinated. But like I said about the swine flu, there was a vaccination for the wealthy, the oligarch, and then there was the rest of us. And those people still can't get paid off those lawsuits. Furthermore, you can't sue any of these companies when you take this back. And none of it is approved by the FDA. So, buyer be warned. Okay? Next. Oh, where's it at? Housing advocates say evictions are continuing at full steam despite a federal ban. Who do you think this impacts? Across the country, landlords have tried to push tenants out for offenses as minor as having a trampoline or an unkept lawn. Rosa Jackson and her 13-year-old son, who were evicted from their home in March, put some of their belongings in Horn Lake self-storage in Horn Lake, Mississippi. On March 26th, a sheriff's deputy walked up to a one-story brick home in a suburb of North Tulsa, Oklahoma, and told the woman inside it was time to leave. She called Legal Aid Services of Oklahoma in a panic. Eric Hallett, the attorney on the phone, instructed her to grab important documents and medicine. There was a chance she wouldn't be allowed to return. The woman and her partner, who lived in the home with 5 children, ranging in ages from 1 to 17, had thought they were going to be able to stay. They had struggled to pay their bills during the pandemic, so they applied for federal rental assistance through a local nonprofit. 3 months before they were evicted, their landlord, Gary Ramey, received $5,600 that would cover the back rent they owed. In return, he signed a document agreeing to drop the eviction case, as was required by the nonprofit that issued the relief aid, according to a copy of the document shared by Hallett. Instead, Ramey moved forward with the eviction, and a judge granted it ADOCS life. Now the family of 7 is living in an extended stay hotel. It really shows the breakdown, said Hallett, the coordinator of housing advocacy for Legal Aid Services of Oklahoma. Ramey confirmed he received the payment and signed the contract, but said he was unaware of the conditions involved and would have to go look at the paperwork. I don't remember that, he said. I thought they were just helping them to catch up with the rent. So they're just helping them catch up with the rent. You get to pocket the money and evict them. Woo-wee. With millions of renters staring down evictions during the global health crises, many of which are ADOCS. Of all the homeless families in this country, more than half are ADOCS. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Monday extended its nationwide ban on evictions until June 30th. The order, which had been set to expire March 31st, is meant to shield families from being pushed out of their homes. Too late for far too many of us. But while tenant advocates praised Monday's extension, they said the program's implementation hasn't been equal in practice. Many renters, like the North Tulsa family, are still being displaced from their homes. Interviews with renters, legal aid attorneys, housing experts, and affordable housing advocates at the state, local, and national level show a process that can be subject to the whims of local politics or geography. Depending on the courtroom, a judge hearing eviction cases might ignore the ban, questioning the federal government's authority to implement it. Other judges have questioned whether the order applies to tenants on a month-to-month lease. Across the country, landlords are continuing to find ways to get tenants out. Hi, Ricky. Thank you for joining the clubhouse. In some cases, by declining to renew their lease or claiming that tenants broke the lease terms. If you want to see me live, I'm on YouTube under the Reparations perspective. While the federal policy bans evictions based solely on non-payment of rent, it allows evictions for other issues such as damaging property or engaging in criminal activity. And renters may be unaware of the steps they need to take. to ensure the eviction moratorium applies to them. Me speaking. For those of you who have mortgages, let me help you understand. When this thing's in, when this pandemic ends and these restrictions are lifted off the mortgage holder and the landlords, understand that if you're not Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae, they're going to want a balloon payment. I highly recommend you do what you must do to hold on to your property. Because during Obama, during his tenure, he created 1 million white millionaires, while over 43% of ADOCS, over 53% of ADOCS lost all the wealth they own, which is their homes. Keep your home affordable. That program came a day late and $1 short for many. I was blessed. I was blessed to have been able to take advantage of that when I was in between employment out here in California. But far too many of us weren't. We'd already lost our homes by the time that got into position. So please don't fall behind unless you Rockefeller and can come up with a year's rent, mortgage rather. Don't fall behind. Unless it's Freddie Mae or Fannie Mac, I think they're putting the money on the back end of the loan. But please, I know people with Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac that couldn't do that. I think they were a month behind when the program was implemented. So it knocked them out of qualification to have a moratorium on their mortgage. They got lots of tricks for ADOCS to keep us tethered to the bottom as the anchor of this country with 3 Ks. So know all the steps surrounding your rent assistance and moratoriums on your rents and your mortgage. Since the pandemic began, 284,490 evictions have been filed across the 5 states and 28 cities tracked by the Eviction Lab at Princeton University. More than 163,700 of them were filed since the federal government's ban went into effect September 4th. Many landlords have flouted the order and its protections, said Diane Yentl, president and CEO of the National Low Income Housing Coalition. It's especially disappointing because the Biden administration knows very well what the flaws and the shortcomings are and still failed to correct any of them. Why is that? The Biden administration neglecting ADOCS, who delivered him the White House. He in there, what now, 75 days? And weaponizing what happened to George Floyd to give Asians protections. I shared on yesterday's show, he just gave them $80.5 million because of the 6 Asian women that were executed by the man down there in Georgia who was sexually repressed and having a bad day. They lose 6. We're still in the midst of a 400+ year Holocaust. They lose 6. He weaponizes what happened to George Floyd to give them protections and to raise them up $80.5 million of the $300 million they've demanded as the AAPI of the Biden administration. We get labeled Black identity extremists for fighting for ADOCS exclusively. We get labeled xenophobic. But the KKK, the neo-Nazis, and the skinheads are able to get gainful employment within the police department instead of being labeled the domestic terrorists that they are. So it's no wonder why Biden has not addressed this. Who does it, by and large, impact? Who is the lowest of incomes? As Asians share 87,000 median income nationwide. White folks share 65,000 median income nationwide. ADOCS share 41,000 median income nationwide. And the median home price nationwide is $340,000. Who needs these protections the worst? When the Biden administration and the Justice Democrats are talking about class-based policies which don't fix race. Back to the text. The White House said in a statement that the federal government was strengthening the enforcement tools to ensure the moratorium is implemented. Don't hold your breath. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the Federal Trade Commission announced March 29 that both agencies would monitor and investigate eviction practices. Well, I mean, it's too late. As always, when it comes to the very descendants whose ancestors built all the wealth you eat from with their lives. The woman is already living in the extended stay. 250,000 under the eviction process in the country from a pandemic they had nothing to do with. We're the highest unemployed, highest underemployed, largest numbers environmentally redlined into environmentally racist communities and tenement housing. Undereducated, miseducated, preschool to prison pipeline. No loans for businesses. Can't even afford to buy houses. We're priced out the market. I'm going to jump to that next. Just as the pandemic has disproportionately affected communities of color, racial disparities in the ability to afford housing influence families' vulnerability to evictions now. Here we go. This POC nonsense I just told you. Black, Hispanic, and Asian households were more likely to be behind on rent than white households, according to an analysis of U.S. Census Bureau household pulse survey data. I am so sick of this people of color nonsense. I've already shared with y'all based on the Color of Wealth LA from 2004 to 2014. We are 44% of the degree, and our median income is $53,500 to Hispanics who are 17% degree, median income of $50,000. This is how they get that class-based policies off on our people, and they create the problems, right? They create us being the anchor of this country, of this country's capitalism. They create that they want your vote to fix it while trying to fix everybody with your reparations, our reparations. Hispanic and Asian and white and Indian and blue people and Martians and devils and all that. Their blues is nothing like American descent of chattel slavery. But even in Biden's platform that he was running on, when it came to African Americans, the man must have said people of color, if my memory serves me, 33 times in something that was supposed to be exclusively for us. And minority was 33 times, and people of color was another, 20. You can go look this stuff up for yourself. I'm not making stuff up. I've done shows about all of this. It's in the archives. Anyway, so they're always trying to flatten blackness. This is why I don't care if they call me a xenophobe. We've got to be seen. I've shared with you guys down here in LA from that same report, Color of Wealth, 2004 to 2014. Our liquidity at large was $200 as compared to African immigrants, $60,000 liquidity. Now, when the race soldiers are coming for the blood kill, the blood choke, the killer choke, whose communities are they going to be in? The ones where you're $200 liquid, $8 liquid in Boston, $11 liquid in Miami? Or are they going to the black immigrants side of town who live amongst white people? I've shared with you guys there are two ways to be white in this country. You have the complexion for the protection, or if you can buy your way into whiteness, which is what many black and brown people do, especially the immigrants. They can afford to. I've shared with you guys that white folks' households share $100 trillion, over $100 trillion, as compared to black folks, $3 trillion. Of the $3 trillion, 10% of the blacks share in $2.3 trillion. 90% of the blacks share in less than $700 billion since COVID. Which one are you? The 10%, which is by and large immigrants? Or are you amongst the 90%, which is by and large ADOCS? So don't come telling me education closes the egregious racial wealth gap when affirmative action is being used to benefit white women first. Hold on, guys, my thing is trying to die on me. White women first, immigrants second, and LGBTQIA third. We have no quotas protecting us for hire in corporate the way we did when affirmative action was exclusively for ADOCS. They have managed to co-opt that and make it about everybody and tether us as bottom caste in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Just as the pandemic, okay, so let's get beyond that. In Macon, Georgia, one landlord attempted to have a renter evicted over arrears. After the judge declined because of the CDC order, the landlord filed a few days later seeking to terminate the tenant's lease for a different reason, according to Susan Reef, a housing attorney and director of the Eviction Prevention Project for the Georgia Legal Services Program. Reef said the group was able to successfully argue the filing was an attempt to get around the CDC order because of the timing. In Louisiana, legal aid lawyers have fought eviction cases based on minor leasing violations that have ranged from having a trampoline in the backyard to failing to mow the lawn. ADOCS Life. Amanda Golov, a housing attorney with Southeast Louisiana Legal Services, said that a landlord trying to find a loophole to evict a tenant who owes rent might protest. It's really about the cat that they have. In one filing, she said the landlord tried to have a renter thrown out over a damaged stove. A fire marshal report helped prove the tenant wasn't at fault. Okay, I'm done with that. You get the idea. Let's talk about, let me jump to, where's that article? Hold on, family. Good Lord. Okay, I have an article I want to read y'all. Give me a second to pull it up because it disappeared miraculously. While we're on Georgia and housing and evictions, I want you to understand that they got $500,000 townhomes for sale in Bankhead, Georgia. Here we go. Why should already be up here somewhere? Okay, these Bankhead townhomes are selling from $515,000 and up. Now called 1029 West, Brock builds 61 units aimed to set neighborhood price records down in Georgia. An active developer on Atlanta's west side is bringing to market a townhome project that's taking Bankhead prices to a whole nother level. Brock Build Homes has entered a pre-sales phase and expects to begin construction soon on a 61 townhome venture now called 1029 West, set to rise on about 4 acres along Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, west of Midtown. When the townhome community was announced 3 years ago, then called the Finley, developers described it as the first major private investment west of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the modern era that isn't part of a community revitalization project. Now prices at 1029 West start at $515,000 in a Bankhead neighborhood where no single dwelling has sold for even $350,000 in recent years, records indicate. But the price points clearly have eyes on the future and not local sales history. Promotional materials note the site is 3 blocks from the 90 acres Microsoft now owns and around the corner from the Beltline at Westside Park, which is being built at the former Bellwood Quarry. The Maddox Park Green Space and Martha's Bankhead Station are nearby too. So what's $500,000 buy in Bankhead these days? The 4-story townhomes, as designed by Good Vance-like architecture, are described as having modern brick exteriors with edgy industrial interiors and partially covered roof decks with skyline views. Each will have 3 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. These are the opportunity zones. What's up, Zorro? Thank you for joining the clubhouse. I'm live under the Reparations perspective over at YouTube if you want to catch me in action. Yeah. This is what the opportunity zone from Trump that the Republicans like to brag about. If our nationwide median income is $41,000, who in Georgia? But white folks, Asians, Hispanics, and Indians can afford $500,000 with a median income of $41,000. Put it in the chat. I'll wait. Atlanta, majority black. If this is the future, is the future to get rid of black folks in Atlanta? These are things you got to ask yourself. You got to stay up on game. Let's talk about mobile homelessness is the highest it has ever been. They always put white folks on these posters. When we know that we're 13% of the population, but the majority of us are living this life. You got white high school dropouts more gainfully employed than college degree ADOCS in this country. Let that sink in. White folks' median nationwide income is $65,000 to ADOCS $41,000. Why is it when they're talking about this poverty, they're trying to make it like an everybody thing? Why is that? So this white woman is on here, but we know who by and large is living in their cars. When you start talking about proportionate to the population, we've got the highest rates of unemployment, the highest rates of underemployment. But every time you look up on these articles, they showing white folks. On the heels of the pandemic, the growing population of unsheltered people are forced to live in their vehicles. A friend of mine who works in the criminal justice system once said to me in confidence, I know incarceration is a scam because the same number of inmates go out and come in each month. The job isn't to keep crime down, it's to keep the prisons full. Full of who? ADOCS men who can't find employment, whose ancestors built all the wealth these Mickey Fickies eat from. They're not doing away with private prisons because that is a continuation of slavery. 1.5 million black men on lockdown, many of whom are there for nonviolent offenses, as the state turns a profit on the very weed they peddled in the streets. No releases for them. Where's Biden's executive order to free those? They're invested in these prisons. Ever since he pointed this out to me, I've kept my eyes peeled for systems where numbers mirror each other, knowing there's probably something afoot when the same number of people that go out then come in. Recently, I observed this trend of identical numbers happening in regards to homelessness and evictions. Here's the breakdown. Approximately 10 million U.S. workers are unemployed as a result of the international shutdowns. Who do you think that impacts? Approximately 10 million people are behind on their rental payments as well. Who do you think that is? If you're bottom caste as a group, if you're the anchor of this country's capitalism, who do you think they're talking about when they're talking about these? What percentage of ADOCS makes up this 10 million U.S. workers unemployed? Let me help you understand. This is predominantly us. You know how I know? Because before the pandemic, we had the highest numbers of underemployment and unemployment. It would stand to reason. Reasonable deduction says this is ADOCS. As this country tries to make us fourth class in the country our ancestors built with their lives. They're trying to neutralize the Black Lives Even Mattering, because you can't march about Black Lives Mattering if you don't give a damn about our economic justice, reparations in the trillions over multi-generations. There's a consortium of mayors who said we are owed 6.2 quadrillion. That's 151 million per ADOCS. I'd be cool with 1.5 million per ADOCS. But it's all by design of institutional systemic racism, because capitalism needs a bottom. And this country long ago decided we were it when they dragged us over here in chains to work this country for free as less than animals. I shared with you how we grew from around 1 million slaves to 4 million by the time we were emancipated. Those were those breeding farms that we were raped on. And we have been pulling ourselves up by our bootless straps ever since, to the tune of 40 million of us in this piece. Now this country is weaponizing immigration against us to make us fourth class. Hispanics already outnumber us, while y'all continue to show up voting blue no matter damn who. I got something for that before I close out this show. You might not come back, but you'll have plenty to think about. So what gives eviction? What gives? Eviction moratoriums and government funding are fading. They're not being enforced because it's us, family. Many believe the most recent rescue package will likely be the last. And those are always a day late and $1 short, right? First time was $1,200. Second time was $600. What's up, Brand? Thank you for joining the live over in Clubhouse. If you want to see me live, I'm on YouTube. Yeah, like I was saying, the first one came months later after they shut the country down. That was $1,200. Then you got $600. Then you got another what? $2,000. So that makes you whole in 1 year's time when you can't find work. This pandemic is designed to wipe us completely off the monopoly board, family. And that's why we need all hands on deck. And that's why I've got 10 shows I'm giving birth to. Living over here, pushing out fixhr40.com. Fixhr40.com. Y'all need to be over there looking at them scripts, calling them people, tweeting them people, Instagramming them people, texting those people, emailing those people. We got the scripts and everybody you need to contact, because these Mickey Fickies want to give us a cashless reparations. That's what they did with affirmative action. Gave that with the left and took it away with the right to benefit everybody but us. I told y'all about down here how these Asians stopped Prop 16 after an ADOCS man, Ward Connerly, brought in Prop 209 back in '96 to dismantle ADOCS affirmative action. We came up with Prop 16 to try to get it back so that we could get the education. Asians flooded the booths to vote it down. Do you understand that Asian Indians down here, Kamala's people, are $465,000 liquid to our 200 liquid? They don't even need affirmative action. They just don't want us to have it. They don't want us to be able to compete. So Prop 16 failed because the money that was raised to promote it wasn't used to promote it. I was on a call when they didn't even want it on the ballot. It was a yes or no kind of, you either for it or against it. Them Asians was up early, couldn't even speak the King's English good. And they were on that call to say no during the yes portion of the vote. By the time they got to the no's, I couldn't even get my yes in. They allowed them to co-opt the yeses live at that hearing. And so I was left to give my yes over the phone, even if it was registered. I don't even know. Well, I guess ultimately we got it on the ballot, but they voted it down. And so we're down from 16 to 5%. Asians and Hispanics colluding together. I told y'all yesterday, they opening up this convention center to house 1,200 Hispanic migrant children, illegals, over here in my neck of the woods. But ICE deported two charter planes full of Haitian children and babies, took them back to Port-au-Prince. Yeah. And yet Biden wants to give Asian protections. And they run this. They making more than white folks. Their median national income is 87,000 to white folks' median national income of 65. That's why they stormed the Capitol. Don't get it twisted. That's why they stormed the freaking Capitol. Because white folks is losing here too. If you aren't fortunate enough to be a part of the top echelon, you're losing too. Nobody's loses like ours. So moving on, it's a new day. Okay, so what gives? Eviction moratoriums, they're fading. Many believe the most recent rescue package will likely be the last. There's talk of mass vaccinations. Oh yeah, they're giving them vax free of charge. And they're not talking about the people that are dying from that vaccination. No, the news is not reporting on that. I've made my peace with those who have taken it. I've made my peace. There's talk of mass vaccinations, opening the schools and rebuilding the economy that's currently hanging by a thread. This was a come up. They're going to tell you no, they ain't got the money for our reparations, but you see them just manifest trillions to bail themselves out while the people live in their cars, in the extended stay motels with their whole families. The world we knew a year and a half ago has been erased, replaced with a cautious, feeble reality. It's a new day. While many people used to get in their cars and head to work, they are now getting in their cars and turning in for the night. Vehicular homelessness is rising at dramatic rates. This is a reflection of the circumstances. This is a reflection of a failed government that don't give a damn about the very people that keep them in office. This state of homelessness is not affecting people who are already in desolate poverty per se. Instead, it is wreaking havoc on middle wage workers who experience a sudden shift in circumstances. They line their pockets with trillions and trickle down every blue moon a few shekels. Let them eat cake. Let them eat dirt. Yesterday, they had the job, the house, the car, the so-called safety net of security. Today, unemployment is a parking lot where furloughed employees go to put their former lives to rest. As of February 2021, more people are living in their cars than they were before the pandemic. This is astonishing news when you consider that in 2018, more people were living in vehicles than there had ever been from a historical standpoint. We just surpassed that number by a landslide. Mobile homelessness is the highest it has ever been at any place during any time on national record. In an interview with USA Today, postdoctoral scholar with the Benioff Homelessness and Housing Initiative at the UCSF Center for Vulnerable Populations confirmed that the rise in mobile vehicular homelessness was happening at unprecedented levels. In reality, though, this could be the beginning of yet another crisis. Of course it is. We're at 1249, family. Let me see over here what y'all got to say about it. Y'all know me. I get to be a chatty Cathy, and I don't finish all my articles. But there's always tomorrow. because I'm here Monday through Friday. I work from home. Praise the Lord. I still have gainful employment. Grateful for that. And so when I'm in between, I work in the courts. So when I'm in between doing the litigation and stuff, I come on here with y'all for this midday report because a very trusted comrade said it's a window that I could reach more of you. Like my hours that I go on the West Coast is too late for the East Coast. Would y'all understand? But I'm 3 hours behind y'all. What's up, Moni Love? I see you, baby. Let's see here. Jay Bird, I see you, fam. Rachel Mawindawa, thank you, my love. This is an ally. This is an African ally. I love her, black and strong, just like I love y'all. Trey, what's up, Jay Bird? Brian, Toothy, Brian. It's shocking, but not surprising. Speaking on white high school dropouts versus black graduates. Thank you, Brian, for the reference. White folks thrive on mediocrity while we ADOCS survive and struggle. Honey, white folks catch a cold, black folk catch COVID. That's how that's working these days. I love you, black and strong family. Okay, so I promised I would give y'all this little tidbit before I go. About weaponizing the vote. Let me help you understand something, family. We are a wealthless group. Some of us may be blessed to still have some income, but I just read you the disasters going on throughout the country, and that's predominantly impacting American descendants of chattel slavery. Don't get it twisted. I told you the median incomes. I told you the egregious racial wealth gap. So now you know. So I'm asking of us, get your mind wrapped around it. This is something I learned while reading Prejudicial by Margaret Kimberly. I learned that Teddy Roosevelt, after the black vote delivered him the presidency, he dishonorably discharged 167 Buffalo soldiers who were wrongfully accused of murdering a second white man after being quarantined in their barracks for being wrongfully accused of murdering the first. Dr. Charles Morris, ADOCS, pastor from Abyssinian Church, said, "You shot us when our guns were empty. And for that, we're going to return the same. By delivering a blue top of the ticket," this is when we were voting Republicans, "and a red Congress to protect the Black South. Family, we have no other commodity. It is time to break the cycle of this vote blue no matter damn who. We are at George Floyd, 9 minutes and 29 seconds. I am asking you, imploring upon you, because a trifecta is the death knell for ADOCS, as is evidenced by Biden being in office 75 days and has done nothing for ADOCS social and economic justice. I am imploring upon you, and I'm making it real plain, straight no chaser. Deliver a red top of the ticket and a blue Congress to protect the over 53% of ADOCS since COVID who rely on government assistance by design of institutional systemic racism until the reparationist movement can replace the lanes in the CDC with full-chested reparationists. And until they cut them checks in the trillions over multi-generations. I want your help. This is where everybody gets to be in the movement. Every show, I'm on my square to fix HR 40. You don't even have to email me. You want to help? Fix HR 40. I'm putting it in the chat right now. Just go on over there and get your scripts and just press return, reply. Just keep sending until they hear us, because the very Jamaican descendant, Sheila Jackson Lee, is fighting around and wants to try to study a cashless repair for ADOCS, whose ancestors built all the wealth everyone in this country eats from but ADOCS. And I am not here for none of that. So I just put that in there. That's how you can help me. You don't even have, well, please, I want you to email me too. Please email me, because I need to build a database. Let me tell you why. Well, I may have other things for you to do. I want to keep you apprised of what's going on in the reparationist movement. ADOS. This is friends of ADOS TV at gmail.com. Just let me have your email. That way I can keep you apprised, because they likes to come for me often, especially Facebook. ScrewTube too, but mostly Facebook will start to mess with my videos, delete my videos. I've had things suppressed. You just don't even understand when you're trying to give that TR roof how they come for you. So I need y'all to get your minds wrapped around weaponizing the vote, because that's my square until the election. We ain't got nothing else to lose. Well, we have everything to lose, right? They're working through the policy to legislate us out of existence. And if they don't do it that way, they're allowing the race soldiers to remain in the police force without any real reform, to dismantle qualified immunity and to decimate the private prisons. No plans for that. No plans for that. So this is all we got. We got one election cycle to move as a block, like the rest of these groups. Because, of course, the Democrats are looking to replace our vote. They've neutralized us economically. Now they're coming for the vote. And they're using immigrants to get that done. That's why they're giving all the goodies to all the immigrants. They need those votes. We done already woke up. What's up, Andrea Michelle? Another ally. Oh, I love her black and strong. Yes, I do. So these are our allies. They come over here. Sometimes they get mad with me, but they know I love them black and strong, because I know who they roll with. And I know they know the history. And they're out here helping their people get it together. So welcome, Andrea Michelle. And with that said, family, listen, I don't really have time. This evening, I'm back on live at 6 o'clock, right? I am back on live with Anti-Black Racism. That's my Ida B. Wells series 2.0. Ida B. Wells 2.0. Since this country wants to mask the fact that ADOCS is experiencing still a 400-plus year Holocaust. Since they want to pivot to Asian Lives Matter to try to neglect Black Life Mattering, okay? That's my role over at Ida B. Wells 2.0 series, dealing with anti-Black racism, okay? Dealing with anti-Black racism. I'm covering the Chauvin trial every day. I may take a break on the weekends, but I got a guest coming on Sunday. So I'm here with you every midday for your midday wake-up call, 12 o'clock. I love you black and strong too, my sister. And I'm here at 6 o'clock Eastern, Pacific Standard Time, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Okay? And so I want you guys to come back for your Chauvin trial updates, because it's rich to hear me go in. When I tell you how I see it, it's always going to be supported by some data, some nugget that you can impart to someone you're working to recruit to the reparationist movement and to this fight, because we're finished without it. And the Democrats have no plans to close the over $100 trillion egregious racial wealth gap. And with that said, family, I hope to see you at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific over there at the Anti-Black Racism Show under the reparationist perspective. Everything is the reparationist perspective, because that's my square until they cut those checks. Until those checks are depositing into our accounts, that's where I live. That's my address. That's where you can find me. And with that said, family, I want to pray us out, give some love to my people in the clubhouse, see if anybody wants to come up and chat for a second. They raced my daughter over to track practice. Let me pray for you in case you don't get back over here at 6 o'clock. I got to put a covering over y'all. I'm very spiritual. If that's not your thing, have a blessed rest of your day. But for the rest of you, I need to remind you of who you really are. I want to tell you that the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever ADOCS and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. If that's the first time you heard that, I just dropped some real truth on you. Meditate on that. We wouldn't be 40 million if God wasn't expressing through each and every one of us. And so allow God to use you for your people. We are at George Floyd 929. Until 6 o'clock, family, you make it a beautiful God-inspired rest of your afternoon. I'll see you this evening. I love you, Black family. I love you strong. Peace. What's up, Clubhouse? I see